When we start our businesses, it can be so easy to get caught up in the how. How am I going to hit that milestone goal? How am I going to hit that revenue goal? How is my manifestation going to actualize? I want to know the details, the time, the place. I want to know everything. And we get so hung up on the how, and we get so hung up on finding a perfect strategy or showing up perfectly in our businesses that we forget that businesses were built one step at a time. Entire cities were built laying down one brick at a time. And so I want to share with you the fulfilling and joyful moments and processes and the entire journey I had to go through in order to go from zero to multi-six figures in my own business. In this $200,000 series, I want to share with you a lot of the behind the scenes and how it all started with me taking the very first step.
I'm your host, Tiffany Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from zero to beyond six figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast.
One step at a time, literally one foot in front of the other, making one decision at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 month at a time. This is not a revolutionary concept by any means. This is definitely not the first time you've heard this phrase, and it's probably not the first time you've heard this phrase in relation to building a business. So why am I bringing this up? What does this even mean? I want to tell you that when I first started my business, there's no way I could have mapped out every single step and really understood exactly what strategy would take me from A to B to C, from starting with zero to hitting multi-six figures in my business. I wish I could. I wish I could hand you over a blueprint and be like, all right, this is exactly what I did. Go and do it. But because we're such different, diverse human beings with different experiences and stories and wounds and traumas and lenses and ways of viewing the world, that's our beauty. That's our secret sauce. And so it really took step by step, me making aligned decisions that felt really good to me, and it would uncover the next step. And then my intuition would say, all right, go here. And now go there, right? It was very simple, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. When I booked my first client, it was literally one client at a time. I built one program and I worked on one client, and then I worked on the next and the next and the next. It was literally one step at a time. I started with just me. A couple months later, I started outsourcing my work and hired a VA. And then I hired an executive assistant. And then I hired a podcast manager and a comms strategist. And now I'm making even more hires in my business this year, right? But it's step by step by step by step. And I think a lot of people get really, really hung up on the how. Like, how exactly did you do this? How long did it take? How did you find the right strategy? How did you create the program? How, right? How now, brown cow? Like, how many times have we looked at someone else's business and just gone, how? They don't even know the how. It's funny because, recently, and I'm doing this $200,000 series of all of the lessons that I've learned. And people will ask me, how did you do it? How did you find the framework? How did you find the drive or the passion? And for me, it's not a simple answer where I'm like, oh, perfect. Thanks for asking. Here's the blueprint. I followed A, B, and C, and that's how I got to D. It was very much like trial and error and finding my own trial and error, finding my own process and taking one step at a time, but also releasing the how. My friend was talking to me earlier about this TikTok she watched about how we set a manifestation and we push it out into the universe, right? And we're like, all right, universe, all right, God, all right, source, this is what I want. And then it's like we hop into the back seat and we're like, all right, so what route are we taking? Are we taking this street? Wait, you just missed that exit, or you didn't take that turn. What's happening? What are you doing? What's going on? And we're a backseat driver to the universe, as if the universe doesn't know what it's doing, as if God or source or whatever you may believe in doesn't have this under control. It's funny when you think about it, but it's something that we do inherently. We're like, we want to know how things are going to unfold for us. But if you really think about it for a moment and you knew every single thing that was going to happen in your life, the people that were going to come in and out of it, the lessons you were going to learn, exactly how your day was going to be planned out, and then what was going to happen the next day, how would you be able to enjoy it? Where would the surprise be? Where would that element be where you are shocked and you're pleasantly surprised and your friends throw a party for you, or you get engaged, or your business hits a huge milestone, or you have an amazing launch? But it would also prevent you from doing a lot of that inspired action and work in order to get to that place if we knew how every single thing was going to happen. Also, looking at strategies that other people do are, of course, amazing. I share a lot of what I do. I'm very, very transparent with my story and my processes and just everything that I do in my business and the behind the scenes. But also, everybody is different and unique in their own way. So even though someone else was very successful and they're in the same niche as you and they're doing something very similar, you could also be doing very similar things and end up with a different result because that person came at it from a different energy. And they have that energy because of the person that they are, because of the experiences they have, the situations that they've brought themselves through, the resilience that they have where they're able to show up in a specific way. And you have your own. I promise. I promise. And so I really want to encourage you to discover your own secret sauce and what that means to you. What is that for you? And I want you to take it one step at a time to get closer and closer to your goal. Right? A lot of coaches, they spend a lot of emotional energy trying to find or hunt down their clients as if their clients are like floating around in space somewhere, like somewhere out there lost where we need to go and rescue them, right? A lot of people are focused on when they're growing their accounts, their Instagram pages, their businesses. They're focused on looking outside. They're focused on looking elsewhere for their clients. They're focused on looking at all the different places instead of right in front of them. Your newest clients aren't in random places trying to find you. They are right next to you. They are right next to you already. They're in your community. They're in your reality, and they're watching you. You literally go through your business one step at a time, one client at a time, and then to the next, and then to the next, right? They're looking for a reason to say yes to you. A lot of people are scared and they're fearful of putting themselves out there. They're also scared of taking the next step because they're not sure where it's going to lead. I promise that when you make aligned decisions and you follow what feels good to you, you're going to uncover those steps for yourself. And that's not something that anyone can ever do for you. And I think a lot of people try to shortcut their way out of this in trying to understand the how or trying to replicate a method so that they don't have to go through that work. And I want to encourage you and challenge you to coach yourself through this process. You are always going to be your number one biggest client. Really recently, I was catching on to some of the guilt and the shame and the emotions and some negative self-talk that I was saying towards myself. And I was having to catch myself and go, wow, would I ever say this to a client? No, never, never. I always show up with patience and empathy and love towards my clients. I would never talk to them in the way that I talk to myself, in the way that we talk to ourselves. We can be our own worst critics. But if we're able to look at our ego as our scared inner child, which is just wounded and needs a little love, needs a little talking to, it doesn't need to be killed. A lot of people talk about ego death and killing your ego and just completely abolishing it. Our ego is just our wounded inner self, our inner child that's broken and hurt and wants to keep you safe, doesn't want you to be hurt, doesn't want you to go through pain. Right? And so some of the things I tell my ego, and I recently did a ego taming meditation, was saying, thank you. Thank you, ego, for always trying to protect me. Thank you, ego, for making me check the street twice, left and right, before I cross. Thank you for thinking about all of the ways that this might go south because you're really trying to protect me and you don't want me to feel pain. Thank you. Thank you for that. But my higher self is calling me higher. I'm going to experience an amazing breakthrough, and this is so aligned with me, and I'm going to show you, and it's going to be okay. We're going to do this together. Let's do it together. Thank you for all you've done. And when you come at it from this place of, okay, I get to talk myself down. I get to be my own coach. I get to help myself release the how and take one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and really be able to create change. Because there's no way I could have identified that in a small little room in San Francisco when I taught my first masterclass. Right. And all these people kind of showed up and packed in together that a year later, I would be celebrating over $200,000 in revenue and a successful business and a program that I'm so proud of. And that has transformed so many lives where people have been able to leave their 9-to-5s, work at home and be with their kids, be able to step into the coach that they're meant to be, build an aligned business, and create intentional marketing and really build a fulfilling life. I would have never been able to anticipate that. It was a lot of messy action and following my fear and letting that guide me, really letting that guide me. A lot of people want to wait until this perfect moment where they feel this confidence. Confidence is a state of mind. It's a continuous state of mind. It isn't waiting until you feel confident to take inspired action. Confidence comes while you're taking the inspired action. So you take that inspired action scared. You take it scared. You do it scared, but do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it messy. Do it fearful, do it anxious, do it nervous, but do it anyway. Do it anyway. It isn't the question of how are they so confident? Ask yourself, how can you yourself take an act of resilience and change not necessarily the emotion first, but the action that you take that can be activated from that place. Right? You show up. The first time I created content, because I was a content creator for so many years when I was just posting about, I would share a lot of things that I feel like were valuable. I didn't just treat it as my online diary by any means. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I really try to offer a lot of tips as well as a content creator. And so when I was shifting into business content and more intentional marketing as a business owner, I had no idea what that looked like. No idea. I had no idea what was going to work and what wasn't. I had no idea what my audience would resonate with and what they wouldn't resonate with. I honestly was really overthinking it in some aspect, but I just did it. It was my first piece of content, my first caption, my best one. I wouldn't say so, but it taught me. It taught me something. It taught me, oh, I like this or I don't like this, or this did well or this didn't do well, or my audience really responded to this one or they didn't so much with this one. I got to learn, I got to play, I got to experiment, literally like a scientist with a lab coat on, testing and playing and trying different things and seeing, all right, is this working? Is that working? Do they like this? Do they want me to talk more about that? Asking questions, inquiring, just being curious, genuinely curious, building intimate connections, being transparent and being vulnerable, and just showing up. Not expecting it to be perfect, not wanting it to be perfect. Literally just showing up and taking one step at a time, one inspired step at a time. And that allowed me to create more and more content. That allowed me to then build a website where I can share more of that content. It allowed me to show up more on stories, start doing lives, start doing IGTVs, right? I started a little series just to kind of test. It's still on my page if you want to go look, called #TipsWithTiff. When I was a social media coach when I first started. I recently rebranded into a business activation coach because I do so much more than just social media. And I didn't want to be known as just someone that helped with social media or social media growth. My clients are experiencing breakthroughs, transformational breakthroughs, healing traumas, healing their inner child, doing deep, deep soul work, stepping up as the version of themselves that's creating boundaries as CEO of their business, creating a coaching program when they first stepped in at week 1 with nothing but an idea, and leaving my program with clients, 4-figure clients booked out, one-on-ones maxed out, group coaching starting masterminds, 10K months, 15K months. It's beautiful work and it's activation work. And so just allowing myself to step into that role that felt so right to me that I've never seen from anybody else or seeing that title ever, I was like, man, I'm not a social media coach. That's not all that I do. I'm activating people's businesses. And it felt like a stretch, honestly. When I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, is that me? It was a stretch. But it was a good stretch, one that I feel like I'm stepping into. So when I first created those IGTV videos, Tips with Tiff, they were just social media tips that I caught on and I played around with myself. And there was a lot of experimentation. And don't worry, I'm still teaching very intentional marketing and ways to show up on social media energetically and in a way that feels good to you, because I do have a lot of that experience. But there's so much more to what I do now. And so those IGTVs helped me to identify I love live video. So now I do a live stream at least once a week or every other week. And if you go to my page, I've turned them all into IGTVs afterwards. I'm sharing client testimonials and feedback from my program. I'm going on live with other people. I'm showing up and just sharing raw, vulnerable moments. If you're someone that's really terrified of showing up on video, there's no better way to do it than just do it. I know that sounds insane, but the more we overthink it, I have a rule. If I call it negotiating with my brain. If my brain is going, okay, do I do this? Does it make sense? Like, this like panicked energy of like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do it now. Maybe I should do it later. Like, oh, I don't know. This is just, this doesn't feel good. I know it's my ego. I know it's my ego showing up and it's scared. It's going, what if you fail? What's going to happen? I'm scared. What if you get hurt? What if you say the wrong thing? Right? And my higher self is constantly pulling me up, pulling me higher, straightening my back, lifting my chin up, and allowing me to embody that empowered version of myself that's like, so what if I'm scared? I'm going to fucking do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. And it is that ambition and that drive and that passion when you have found what you love and you get to show up from that place and take one step at a time and allow it to guide you. Because it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be all put together. It doesn't need to be so structured. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Marketing is really just showing up, telling the truth, being vulnerable and loving people and being of service to them from that place. It's literally just setting an intention to help other people feel less alone and create value and quality content and show people, hey, here's how I'm handling things. This is what I'm doing. And allowing yourself to be witnessed and seen and loved and accepted. Allowing yourself to bear yourself. Serving others. We need more coaches and more business owners showing up as human beings. Just going, hey, this is who I am. I'm showing up today. It's not perfect and it's not meant to be, but here I am. Here I am. And that's what people need, is true connection. I started showing up online because I was going through a huge breakup, a huge separation with my daughter's dad, which is the biggest, most horrifying kind of breakup and heartbreak that I'd ever gone through in my entire life. Everything that I had expected in my future for a family, all of it kind of came undone. And it was really painful. And to cope, I started making videos about it on YouTube. I started talking about co-parenting and life as a single mom and creating a healthy co-parenting relationship and being a single parent and what that looked like and what it felt like and what happened, and talking about all of these things that allowed me to cope from a very vulnerable place. And that's honestly how I built my community, and I've stuck to it since day one. Since the first time I recorded a video, 7 years ago on YouTube, 8 years ago, is a long time ago. And just continuing to show up from that place, continuing to show up and just bear myself authentically, genuinely, and intentionally to show up and say, hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm at. And I cannot tell you how many times people have slid in my DMs and gone, Tiffany, I relate to your story so deeply. Or Tiffany, I love your vulnerability. Or I love your transparency. Thank you. Thank you for showing me what's possible. Thank you for making me feel less alone. Thank you for sharing your story. I see you. I hear you. And then sometimes it turns into, how can I work with you? Right? But it's always coming from a genuine place of, let me just share and let me bridge the gap and make others feel less alone and remind them that, hey, we're all human beings. I know social media can feel like such a filtered highlight reel that just goes on and on and on. But the more that we can see humanness and relatability and connection and transparency and intentional sharing and just showing up as a human being online is so powerful. And so I wanted to share, because that is a lot of what I did in the beginning of my business and throughout my entire business, was just taking it one step at a time, one quarter at a time, one section at a time, one program at a time. I mean, I only have one program now, but I've launched a couple of different things, and it took having to launch a couple of different things to be like, I'm going to stick with this one thing, right? And for people that want to have multiple offers and multiple services, as long as that feels good to them, then beautiful. It gets to be beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you resonated with this, please shoot me a DM. Please screenshot this and share it to your stories. I'm so excited to hear. And I really, really hope, my intention is that you listen to this $200,000 series and you just hear so much joy and passion and gratitude and fulfillment from what I'm doing, and that you feel inspired to take your first step, because that's really all that you need to do, is take that first step.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.